Alright, trying something a little bit different. I want to start live streaming, and I thought it'd be fun if we did an edit along. I'm going to work on an upcoming Star Wars lore video in Premiere Pro. We can do that together and hopefully interact with the chat. I am just now trying to figure out how to get the chat open. I didn't really publicize this a lot because, as you can see right off the bat, I don't really know what I'm doing. Alright, I got my own stream open with the live chat here. I guess that's the way to do it. The cat is always a distraction. Okay, please stop. Alright. Very boring intro for everybody, so let's just get things rolling. New project, and this is on the Jedi Training Pipeline. It's distracting seeing my own monitor behind the times. I feel like I'm not doing it right. So I script everything word for word. I do go off on tangents as I'm recording, but I find I get distracted and it's more tangent than content if I'm not scripted word for word. I also write better than I speak, so that helps a lot. And it's also something I can do while other things are going on, and I don't have to just be down in the Death Star room by myself for hours on end. So I scripted the whole thing, did all my research, I saved all my sources. Then I record the raw cut, and we're going to be starting in this video with the rough cut, meaning that all of the ums and ahs are taken out, and all the blank spots are taken out. So we can just get to the actual editing process. I thought that would be the cleanest way to do it, because otherwise you'd be sitting here watching me, listening to me, and cutting it, and you'd also have the entire video, all the content, ahead of time. If that's something you want, and these kind of videos are going to take off, then let's do that. Just let me know. I drop it in here, and Premiere Pro has a text-based editor up in the screen here. I should probably get something so you can trace my cursor better. But up here, very, very helpful. This is how I used to do my rough cuts. I would read it all. It gets a little wonky with Star Wars because the program has a hard time deciphering a lot of the words, and there was a lot of cleanup needed. If I was subtitling, I'd have to clean it all up, but now I'm at the point where, because I wrote the script, I kind of get a general idea of what's going on, so I can just get to the edit a lot faster. And I try to systematize things the best I can so that my videos aren't repetitive, but the process gets a lot smoother. When I first started the channel, I was a solid 4 hours per edit, and now I'm around 90 minutes. This one will probably take longer because I'm talking, but that right there is a huge time saver, so I can get more videos done, because doing 3 a week with other responsibilities, it can get tough. Don't mean to complain, it's YouTube, it's fun. But it is a time commitment at times. So anywhere where you can shave time off helps a lot. You're seeing my main editing monitor. And over here I have folders and folders and folders of everything Star Wars related that I do. Every image that I use, I save, which saves me time going forward. Now I have tons of images of the Jedi Council chambers of Luke Skywalker, Qui-Gon Jinn, all the main key Jedi that a video like the Jedi Training Pipeline would likely talk about. Otherwise, I just kind of rely on Google image search. It's the easiest, and I try to only get official Star Wars images. I try not to use fan art or anything without permission. Some might have slipped through over the time, but I try my best to just keep it to Star Wars sources. I've been experimenting lately. I used to start it on just my face talking in the video, but I've been trying to use Star Wars images, and when I do my "this transmission will cover," drop out to where I am. Meaning we have to get to where the blue bar is now with images so we can see it. So since we're starting with the Jedi Order, I'll open my Factions folder, Jedi Order. Sorry if I stop talking at times. I'm going to try to fill all this space, but I have to do a two-brain thing to kind of work all at once. I also learned to edit on a very slow computer. It was a 2019 MacBook Pro. I started editing in earnest probably 2021, 2022. And even those first couple years, I was cutting more than I was editing. So learning how to do it on a slow computer, I kind of learned some tricks on speeding things up. Like, I can use the arrow keys to bounce to the beginning and end of each image, and I have each image coming in for 8 seconds by default. I can extend or shorten that, of course. I went with 8 seconds because it seems like the YouTube image recognition, the thing that could flag me for copyright issues. From what I read, it goes to about 10 seconds, so I try to keep it under the 10-second mark. I also find 8 seconds is a good amount of time for you, the viewer, to see the image, especially with the slow Ken Burns kind of pan effect that we'll add later. But not too long that you're like, okay, let's get on with this thing, or your mind starts to wander. It might be arbitrary. That's my thinking on it. Technically, because I'm commenting over it and I'm adding to the content, it's under the YouTube's fair usage rights agreement. But the fact of the matter is I'm talking about somebody else's IP, so they can kind of do whatever they want. I don't see why they'd come after me for anything, but that's fine. So I try to pick an image, obviously, that is relevant to the text, and whenever I jump to the end of that image, I can see where here in the script I'm at. This box here is all the content that I use in it. Like if I bring in this picture of Anakin as a Padawan and then I take it off the timeline, it's still in here, which means it's still part of the file size. So I try to only bring things in as I'm using them so there's no extra fat. Again, learning to edit on a slow computer, the export process was a nightmare. Like a 8-minute video could take my laptop hours to do. It would crash more often than not. It was terrible. The computer I have now, it's an Alienware. I forget which one. It's good enough. It's definitely going to need some upgrades at a point. But I got what I could to get started. So like here, I normally go for 8 seconds. I extend it out. Now it's going to be at 9 seconds. That's fine because I didn't want another image in there for 1 second. And now that this transmission, me telling what the video is about, I like to focus on me. I wanted to start a faceless channel initially, and why I didn't was, this was before the AI craze and before ChatGPT was like a household name, but I was worried that someone would think that's an AI channel and that there was no person behind it. Sorry, I'm trying to check the chat to see if anyone came in. No. So that's fun. Can you still see me? Yes, okay. Sorry, the EV Mux is the streaming software I'm using, and it had a weird overlay. Alright, so after this transmission part, we're back into the content, and I generally try to do as many images as possible. If I'm giving my opinion or making a point that's not factual, for lack of a better word, it's not lore established, I generally cut to me or asides. I should talk about it as it comes up. So here we go. For much of the canon continuity, the Jedi Order relies on medical testings and reports to Republic-aligned informants to locate Force-sensitive younglings. So for something like this, I would want, Qui-Gon testing Anakin for the midichlorians. I try to give all my images... Just give you a look at that. I try to give all my images an appropriate name so I can find it. Like, I try not to do this where it starts with Qui-Gon, starts with Qui-Gon, starts with Qui-Gon in the Qui-Gon folder, because that just makes it a mess to locate things. But when I'm working on these so often, throughout, a couple years now, things happen. I'm positive I have an image of Qui-Gon testing Anakin's blood. Sometimes it seems like it might be easier just to jump into Google and find another one, but I promise you this does save time when I'm finding things. and that is not being represented right now. You know what? It might be under midichlorians. Yes, it is. There we go. So here, like this explanation, I use the word informants to locate Force-sensitive younglings, and then I say the Republic-aligned informants were nothing nefarious. The word informant may conjure images of spies having secret meetings in alleyways. That's just kind of me rambling, so there's no relevant Star Wars picture that goes to it. I could do something kind of clever, like get in the bring in Garandan, the informant from A New Hope. Which obviously he has nothing to do with finding younglings, but it is an informant, it's relevant, and that's probably more interesting for the viewer than just looking at me talking. I mentioned medical records, so I was trying to pull up images of Force healing, but that doesn't really seem relevant. I don't know what to use for... Well, here we go. Census reports, and I have this picture. Jedi coming to a consensus, probably from the High Republic era. I'm honestly not even sure. That is under my... Oh, it's my Aurebesh when I did the video on Aurebesh. Okay, that's interesting. So I'm talking about the Jedi approaching the family to get permission. That makes me think of Ahsoka, when we got her backstory on Plo Koon finding her as a baby. So we can bring that in, because he went and talked to her family about coming in to train. That child would have no further contact with the family, so we can get Qui-Gon talking to Shmi, maybe? Shmi saying goodbye to Anakin. We all know the emotional impact there. And here's an aside that I don't really have an image for. You could look at this as the child be given the opportunity to go live with a noble order of peacekeeping monks, or you could see this as a selective religion coercing a family into handing over their child. This video is trying to be more objective. I do clarify a couple times in the video that the Jedi are the good guys. I fully know that. It's a thought exercise on trying to take a more objective approach to seeing things as if you lived inside the universe, because the people inside the universe probably wouldn't have interacted with a Jedi and definitely didn't see everything that we see in the movies. So we talk about in the era of the High Republic, which I know is not a fan favorite. There is a lot to like in the High Republic. Don't judge the whole era just on the Acolyte. The books are fairly strong with so many of them. Obviously, some are better than others. But what I liked about it is detached from, say, the Skywalker saga or the established main kind of area of 4 or 5 decades. So they could make bold moves, like main characters do die off at times. And I don't necessarily think a story's better because the main character dies. But death in Star Wars is a little bit broken right now. Same with like kind of superhero things, where it doesn't really seem like there's any actual stakes. So I also talk about how long the High Republic lasted, so we can throw in this Timelines book cover, which is an excellent book. And then I say, like, looking to the Expanded Universe. So I'll cut this off here at Expanded Universe. And I have a whole folder on novels, but I also kept this Legends banner for whenever we switch over. And I also like to do this graphic overlay. Sorry, computer's a little slow. Whenever I dive into Legends, so that if you're watching the video and maybe you miss when I say looking to the Expanded Universe a sentence later, you might not know what I'm referring to. So this is a good reminder. And I always have I set it up the same way every time. I like consistency, channel branding, that kind of thing. I use Legends and Expanded Universe interchangeably. I've gotten some comments where people kind of don't love the term Legends because they think it's I don't know, maybe putting down the Expanded Universe stories or something like that. I use them interchangeably. Legends is honestly just easier, and I kind of like the thought of the Legends existing inside the Star Wars universe, where we talk about Legends Luke Skywalker rebuilding the Jedi Temple. That could be a rumor that's floating around in the Star Wars galaxy, just kind of like a little justification for it. So trying to expand that out gets me to 10 seconds, which I feel is a little bit too long. So I'd rather have... I gotta find some Padawan images. I don't have a Padawan folder for kind of the generics. Yeah, we can use Cal Kestis as a Padawan. So instead of having the Legends banner be so long, we can cut that off and get more on the actual Padawan image, which is nicer. And I talk about Force sensitive being not being trained as a Jedi could be seen as a potential future problem. I know Asajj Ventress did get some training, but it's a good example of a future problem that the Jedi Order had. I have a lot of pictures of the younglings, but I'm going to save that when I talk about the Kresh. I could throw in this Padawan building a saber and then push the Asajj picture after, so she is up when it says future problem. And then when the Legends thing cuts off, just move the timeline back so you get the nice little outro animation, which is a little choppy with the screen sharing, but it's there. And now when we say the word younglings, we'll get rid of Ventress, and we'll go to just that. So we have Yoda training the younglings. Thanks for joining. Oh, I was typing it. I could just talk to you. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, I'll check on it periodically, especially now that I know you're there. I can move this over so I can see the chat at the same time. Yeah, any questions on Star Wars channels editing? Really, just kind of just like a hangout while I do something, so it's not just me here standing rambling at the camera. So I talk a little bit about the Kresh and what it is. If you don't know, the Kresh is where all the younglings go before they're ready to become a Padawan, before they're chosen by a master. Not a ton of pictures of younglings. Just gotta stack them up. Talk about what the Kresh teaches, so we can go into Force powers, and it's not going to be younglings in the pictures, but, you know, here's a Jedi meditating. It's important for a Jedi and staying centered, or balanced. Whenever I talk about Jedi training or anything, it's always Qui-Gon Jinn or Legends Luke Skywalker at the top of my mind. I think they would be the best teachers you would want to have. talking about the Jedi Trials. And I know I have images on that. Again, I gotta find them. Not having great luck. I swear I'm organized. Maybe in the Anakin folder. All right, we'll go to Google. Found this book cover, Jedi Trials, Clone Wars novel. It's a little bit small, but if you scale it up, not bad. Oops. And then here we talk about The Gathering, which I've done many videos on kyber crystals. So we actually have scenes from the Clone Wars episode, The Gathering, which is a fantastic episode. Just talked about it with my buddy Noah on Review Harvest. I don't know if you guys watch the podcast format, but that was there. Hey, Tahu's here. Hey, what's going on, man? It's been like a year since I live streamed. I was hoping you'd show up. I also thought this would be a good time because I have a lot of subscribers in the UK, Australia, over on your side of the world. So awesome that you made it. Thank you. I'm hoping to make this a regular thing. It might not always be editing videos. Depends on how people feel about it, but we'll do something. Maybe a news catch-up. Just want to start engaging with the community more. Now I'm talking about the Padawan being selected by the Master, and Obi-Wan being chosen by Qui-Gon always comes to mind, but we also do have Qui-Gon with Dooku, which is interesting from... Which Tales of was that? Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate it. Been putting in a lot of work. I like it, though. It's a lot of fun. I say work, but it's fun. I like doing the research and the editing. And actually, editing is my favorite part of it. It's definitely going slower talking through it, but it's kind of cool to... I don't know if you've ever had that experience where when you teach somebody something or show somebody something, it kind of reinforces it in your own mind and you think about it from a new angle. Now I'm saying when Anakin Skywalker was knighted, so we should find a picture of Anakin. I like this one, the promo shot from Attack of the Clones. Now we're talking about Ahsoka being assigned to Anakin instead of the Master choosing the apprentice the Council decided to assign her. I don't know if I have her actual first appearance in here. That Clone Wars animated movie was pretty bad. I'm trying to zip through it a little quick so that we can get to some of the fun parts instead of you seeing me just line images up. I might do things out of order and then have to backtrack just so it can show you guys more of the process. Because I got to get off around 4:15. But we'll go for about an hour. And like I said, usually got this down to about 90 minutes, and I already did the rough cut part, so we might get in there. We're at 3:30 at about 10-minute video. Tao was asking about my elusive co-hosts. One is sleeping by the window right there. The camera doesn't have a very long cord, but he's like 5 feet away. I got new shelves behind me, and I put a pillow on him, so he's loving that. I took the dogs for a walk, and it's like 15 degrees out here, Fahrenheit, in the U.S. So it's freezing, so they're on the couch on blankets warming up. I'm actually surprised the cat's sleeping because the 10 minutes leading up to starting the recording, I thought I was going to start late because he kept jumping on the keyboard and knocking the microphone over and doing things like that. Cat things. Now there's the picture of Anakin's trials. No, that's not relevant though. We're talking about Anakin being denied training, so we need Anakin in the council chamber. Or this promo shot of young Jake Lloyd. Talking about Qui-Gon's wishes after his death, so it's a good chance to use a powerful image. Yeah, exactly. Cats always do cat things when you don't need them to do cat things. I sat here the rest of the day at my day job, and there's nowhere to be seen. As soon as it's time to start recording, he knows. There's Anakin with the council. Now I'm talking about Padawans accompanying their Jedi Masters on missions, and I'm trying to find some that's not just Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, but it's a great example. Over the weekend, I built display cases on that side of the room with glass fronts so the cats don't knock my collectibles over anymore. They had fun with the building process, but they don't love that they can't get into those shelves. Looking for lightsaber training pictures now. I thought I had pictures of the flashback in the Obi-Wan series where he's fighting with Anakin. I don't care if Anakin looked a little too old for the scene. It was cool to see Hayden and Ewan sharing the screen again. Oh, there he is. I don't know if you heard him. Oh, no, that's his sister. Come here. Come up here. Alright, I just had pictures of Anakin's trial, and now I'm going to lose it again. Oh, thanks for the heads up, Tahu. I don't know why it would have done that. Give me a second. I'm still here. I'm just trying to fix the camera feed. I need a longer HDMI cord for recording up here. It works okay when I'm in the basement really close to it, but up here it's not working so well. I don't know what it would have done. Yep. Sorry guys, I have no idea what happened to my camera. It's on, it's plugged in. I just removed the cord and plugged it back in. Ooh, for the people who live stream regularly, credit to you, because I probably need the simpler, like a webcam or something easy, instead of having a DSLR with all these add-ons to it. The add-on is actually getting hot. I guess we're just going to carry on without camera. You can still see my screen. Kind of a bummer. My HDMI to USB is hot to the touch, so I wonder if I just overheated the thing. I've streamed in the basement for like an hour, hour and a half before, but that was on my Microsoft Surface, much smaller, less intense computer. Kind of sucks. And I don't have a webcam on this computer to switch to either. I don't know if I reset the broadcast, if that would kick you guys out. I'm going to have to run with it. I'll have to figure it out before next week. Huh. Well, that sucks. So let's keep going with Anakin's Jedi Trials. I like taking it from the Micro series. I can't think of Jedi Trials being featured on screen anywhere else. Especially with the prequel era being so prominent, because a lot of Jedi Padawans got to skip the trials since they were tested in war. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Skeleton Crew was our last attempt at live streams. My wife had fun doing it, but even during the run of Skeleton Crew, which was all of 8 episodes, it was hard to have the commitment where she had to be there to talk about Star Wars every week, so I thought this would be an easier to go off on my own. I'll loop her back in at some point. Our family holiday season was pretty great this year. My day job's very generous, where we get the eve and the holiday off for both Christmas and New Year. So the way they fell, I just took each Friday off, so I had two-day work weeks and then 5 days off each week. So I feel like I'm just coming back from vacation. Thanks for asking. How about yours? Did you get to spend it with your kids? All right, let's pick up the pace on this. Talking about what the trials tested. Different aspects of being a Jedi, so I'm kind of grabbing some Force power images. It's hard to show things like using the Force to increase your endurance. The Force healing images are the coolest, but I don't think that was the most common Jedi trait, Jedi power. Alright, now we're talking about the staggering loss of life during the Clone Wars. You kind of got battlefield promotions. I don't know if Barasofi was one who got a battlefield promotion. Oh no, she wouldn't have. She never made it past Padawan. here I say we'll cover what happened to Padawans who failed their trials. I wanted to leave the order in just a little bit, but I actually tagged that onto a video I already made, so we're just going to go ahead and get rid of that. That's the other nice thing about doing the text editor. It kind of gives me another chance to re-engineer it. Went back to Brisbane for Christmas with my boys. Got them a puppy. Oh, very awesome. Oh, sorry to hear you lost your big dog in October. That sucks. And a child who's turning 10. Well, congratulations. A dog for Christmas is super exciting. That's cool. My father-in-law actually got one. Also, a little tiny thing. Sorry to hear about your older dog. That really sucks. We have a dog at 10 and a cat at 12, so we're trying not to think about it, but we're dreading the upcoming years. But it's awesome you got to see your kids and spend the holidays with them. That's great. Here in the video, I take a little break from the actual lore and talk about... Oh, I keep looking at the camera like it's still working, but it's not. I keep talking about the... Sorry. I keep taking a break from the lore to talk about the Jedi kind of as an institution. And even in this video, I say things like you could see it as the Jedi asking a family to train the child, or you could see it as the Jedi taking a kid away from the family. So I have to clarify here that I don't think at any point the Jedi Order was the bad guys. I see a lot of online discourse recently is pretty harsh on them, and yeah, they've made mistakes, but there's a difference between that and being evil. I thought I had good images of past Jedi councils, like from the Old Republic era. If anyone read Rise of the Red Blade, the way they describe the main character, Iskat Akaris, being lost after the death of her master, I think is a really good insight as to the difference between repressing your emotions and burying them. It's a very solid book. A lot of the books I've been less than impressed with because they kind of don't have anything to say. Like, I was excited for the Bad Batch book. But because it takes place before the end of the series and Tech is in it, you know it's just another adventure. If you want to spend time with those characters, it's good for that. But it doesn't forge any new ground. Yeah, nearly 16K subs. Thank you. I'm very excited about it. I've been diving into my analytics a lot, and I gotta rework my thumbnails because we're doing this Inside Baseball video edit. I might as well put it all out on the table. But I'm super psyched with the growth, and thank you for everyone who's subscribing. Thank you for the channel members. It's been a crazy... In 6 days, I'm at 2 years since I put out my first videos, so that's pretty cool. I really want to get that builder channel going too, but it's hard enough to keep up with one, let alone two. But I swear at some point it's coming. I have so many 3D print props and stuff I've done. I built a full-on holo projector. I need time to make the videos. I wish I had more time. I'd like to get onto the more fun parts of the edit. But once the images are in, we're 80% there. I have the rest very systematized to get a very nice look. And that's more the editing side to show things. Now I'm talking about the Jedi living amongst other Jedi, and they're not really with the citizens of the galaxy at the point where we catch up to them in the prequel series. So there is a little bit of lack of empathy, you could argue. Since I'm talking about the Jedi in more general terms, I'm just trying to put in different images of Jedi. I had the idea for a Star Wars short story where there's a crisis and some civilians die when the Jedi are there doing their best, and a Jedi really takes it hard and kind of loses their connection to the Force and has to find their way back, like a self-doubt kind of story. I thought it'd be interesting. I have a whole folder on Palpatine because Ian McDiarmid just did such a good job being creepy even before all the makeup that I love throwing in, especially this picture. It's just such a knowing look. I use this in a lot of videos. I talk about Anakin being kind of the prime example of a Jedi losing their way and failing, but there was a lot of smaller examples along the same vein as Anakin, just not as extreme. One with him being the chosen one and like the most powerful, but also that didn't mean they all became Sith or fell to complete corruption or lost their way. Even like Barriss Offee, who bombs the Jedi Temple, ends up locked up and even joining the Inquisitors for a time, or just about. There was other examples where it's just like a fall from grace, or kind of a bad day to an extreme. So we got a dog coming in now. My wife usually gets home around this time, so they're probably waking up to see what's going on. Now I'm talking about some ways I think the Jedi Order could be rebuilt, and one thing I would say is taking in older pupils instead of just children, and I think the Expanded Universe Luke rebuilding the Jedi Order is a great example of that, because he trains teenagers and adults for the most part, which I think it's interesting. I don't want to say it's right or wrong. I mean, obviously the idea of taking a child from its family, I think it's kind of horrible. In the wide enough galaxy, there's probably enough orphans and stuff they could have given a home to and trained, but I don't want to be vilifying the Jedi Order, because that's not the point of peacekeeping monks. They're obviously the good guys. Just kind of a thought exercise on what else could happen. Like, if Anakin was allowed to keep in touch with his mom, would he still have been so possessive, or would she have been able to talk him off that ledge? I also think keeping some family connection might have been a good idea, because then they're talking to average people. And of course, keeping the Jedi off Coruscant so they don't mix with the politics. I feel like I've already used all these council pictures. Another thing I like about saving all my pictures, if I bring in a picture I've already used, it doesn't populate in this lower left box. So I know I already used it, so I can just drop it from the video. I try not to double up. Pretty sure I already used this one. Oh, no, I haven't. Yeah, I'm still not sure what happened to my camera, but I'll have to figure that out. Good quality webcam would probably make this easier because I had to go down to the basement to grab everything and hook it up here, and then tomorrow for the podcast format I got to bring it all back down, but that's fine. It's carrying a camera up a couple flights of stairs, no big deal. I used this image of Ahsoka leaving the Order a lot. That was just such a great arc. Which is supposed to be the next episode of Review Harvest, but we might do a 2025 year-end wrap-up about all the movies, TV shows, books, comics, video games. Haven't read everything, but try to get my hands on as much as I can. We're almost done with the image portion, then we can get on to more editing stuff. There we go. That's the last image we need. Back to the beginning. And now we get into the wonderful world of Premiere Pro presets. I always put this voiceover preset on it. I did not name it Sexy Voice, that's how it came. I would never make that claim. And I got a, I never edit the exact, well, I guess I cut it and everything, but I never alter the exact video file that much. I like to use adjustment layers. It's a layer you put over it, and it affects everything below it. And that way you have a lot of freedom, and if you don't like how something went, you could just take it off. I've done it enough now that it's probably not a huge deal. Oh, the grid here that I have, I divided it into a grid so you can use the rule of thirds where I can line myself up on any one of these horizontal lines and I'm in the frame. I generally go dead center. I also always crop it in a little bit so that I can move it up and down and you don't see black bars. And I put the red at my eye line because sometimes the camera's in a slightly different place so I can adjust it up or down to keep a little bit of headroom here. And it also looks like my tripod. I had to get an Amazon special tripod because my tripod broke. So it's usually a little bit crooked, but you can quickly change that. And another thing I like doing is I've never been great at the color balancing aspect of it. I would spend forever and overdo it on some, underdo it on some. So I got a whole Star Wars LUTs package. I forget exactly what LUT stands for, but it's basically presets for your color balancing, and I got a vintage film one, which I think gives it a nice look, especially with the background colors. Yeah, I'm with you, Tahu. That's one of my favorite Clone Wars arcs, especially because as it was coming, I didn't see it coming. I knew something had to happen because she wasn't in the movies, obviously. They could have killed her off, but I would have been shocked if they did that, especially in a cartoon show. But the way they handled it, I thought was incredible. It was a little less like have your cake and eat it too, and actually a good story moment. What I'm doing now, you can see this red bar on the timeline. Some of the graphics templates are a little bit more intense, and on the export process, to make it an MP4 for YouTube, it can get a little bit tripped up, so I transcode it, which makes it another video file inside the video file, and that red bar will turn yellow. I mean, it'd be ideal if it was green in a more powerful computer, it would be, but for me, that makes the exporting process more reliable. Luckily, I only have this one short block to do because sometimes it takes a very long time, and usually I don't edit with an audience, so I'll set that and, you know, go downstairs and refill my coffee or something. So now that we have all of our images in, and I have the general setup of how the video is going to look, also to save time in the export process, I go through the timeline, and anything that's under an image, any video that's going to be under an image, I just delete it, because it doesn't have to transcode any of that. With the layers, if I have videos under there, even though you don't see it on the screen, it's still data in the file, and you would have to transcode all of it. So this keeps the file size down and the transcoding time much shorter. Whenever there's a break in the speech here, I try to see what the next point is. And I like to change the camera angle a little bit, mostly for visual interest. Sometimes you can use it to kind of hide cuts, even though I've already did all the raw cutting. So again, going to I used to do all these manually with keyframes, and it took forever. I hated adding the zooms. I got these great keyframes, and I can do, say, ultra smooth zoom is probably my favorite one, just because it's nice and professional looking, which gives you the anchor points already set up, and this arc here and here are how the zoom will go. I don't always jump to 200%, that's kind of a lot. Even 150 is kind of a lot. It's a little bit arbitrary, it's more what feels right, and then you can see, you get a nice, easy push in. It's definitely smoother when I'm not screen sharing, but that zoom is done in, you know, whatever that was, 15 seconds. I try to have it be slightly different every time it cuts back to me. You know, consistency. A big thing when you watch a video, consistency in the eye line. If I zoom in here, and the next zoom I'm over here, and the next zoom I'm over here, it's jarring. So I try to put this T thing right on my face. I have the text broken out on my other monitor, so I can see this to control the zoom, and over here to see what the text is. So when I give the two thoughts, like the Jedi asking to train the kids in noble order, or is it not a great move, I can use this to emphasize that with a quicker, slightly jarring zoom. Oh, that's a nice freeze frame on me. So this one's a little less smooth, but it kind of jumps there, but it's not an actual jump cut, so it is smooth. And I tend to pace when I do this, so I kind of have to throw the zoom off at first, so when I pace back into it, it's there. Of the Jedi Order. I just played it a little bit because sometimes where you put it on the timeline, it will not follow in your scripted format. I don't really animate the zoom outs as much. I don't know why. I kind of just find it unnecessary. If you watch some of my older videos, it's a lot of zoom ins and zoom outs, and I felt like it was getting to be too much. So for zoom out, I feel like this is just cleaner. Just get to it. Still match the eye line, but it's just a much easier jump. And here I'm talking about how rebuilding is absolutely necessary, so it doesn't need to be a violent up-close zoom. And I also will, like, this is ultra and ultra smooth, but it's 30 frames rather than 40 frames, so it's going to move a little bit quicker. And then for the ending, I like to have it zoomed out, not quite all the way, but pretty far, so when I click this video next on the screen, you can still see everything. If it was my face close up, then the video would be covering the whole thing. I guess seeing my face is the most important thing, but I am talking to the people, so talking to you. Then I assemble all the different assets I have, like I have this preset end screen. Video goes right over it, obviously. And since the video is over 10 minutes, around the 3-minute mark, I like to do the asking for subs. I used to never do it, and it was recommended to me by a channel builder YouTube channel. And since I started asking, it actually was more. I always had the mentality of, like, I'll subscribe if I want, but then I find I watch videos and I'll forget to subscribe, so. And I try to do it at a break. Like, I saw this dead spot in me talking here on the audio timeline, but this is right in the middle of talking about the gathering. So I don't want to do that and cut it off. But here starts when the younglings are already be paired with the master, so I got to find if there's a dead spot there. Not really what's going on here.
A Jedi Master.
This is a bigger dead spot.
Oh, they would make their...
Yeah, that seems better to me. So I can skew these images over, so this one's a little shorter, this one's a little longer. And I have a preset animation that I made asking for subscribers. Oh, it's lagging. Just insert that right in, and my computer has a hard time processing this for some reason, so I try not to click on it. It'll freeze up the timeline for a minute. But we got that one in. And I always set the recruitment poster to the end, but I do that last since I put in the keyframes for image transitions in between. Yeah, putting in the asking for sub thing locked me up for a second. Sorry about that. 4:10, we'll probably wrap it soon, but I'm actually almost done. Hopefully people at least find this interesting, if not informative. Another thing I always throw in there is I have an animation of my channel logo. Big important thing with adding in things like this is I always lower the decibels quite a bit because I don't want it to detract from the main message. And like I said at the beginning, I learned how to edit on a very slow computer, so remembering what percentages and stuff to do and just being able to type it in with a keyboard is way better than testing it and scrubbing the timeline because it just won't keep up. Or my older computer wouldn't. This one kind of does. We can throw this in now since we're here. I'm doing it a little bit out of order, but I'm trying to wrap this quickly. And this I do go to 10 seconds on. It's my own image, so there's no way I can get a copyright strike on it. My buddy drew it, and I added on the text, so... Then I use more presets. Preset everything, it saves time. Why reinvent the wheel every video? So once I have it set in its position, I have these slides. So say I want it to slide down, and then for slide out, I can have it go back up. Now it comes down after a certain amount of time, goes back up, and then the video ends. The images used to take me forever. Scaled them all to frame size. I should show you the difference. So they all come in at whatever file size they are, scaled to the frame size. It will fill this without going over. Then I add in the default fade transitions, because doing an animated transition between every one, I used to do that in the beginning, and it was very obnoxious. Then I duplicate all of them down a row, nest that so it's all one object, and then I blow it up so it's the full background. Blur it out. And then I add a shadow to this to give it some separation, along with, hi Stella, a nice smooth zoom so that each image goes nicely. But instead of just having the fades, which is kind of boring and not great editing, I zoom in so I can get rid of the fades. Well, I don't have it fade in at the very start of the video. I think that'd be kind of obnoxious, especially because you can get the little preview when you hover it over on YouTube. Tyler says you got to change my name to editor extraordinaire. I don't know. I like the editing process. I've got it down for what I do, but I see how some other people edit, and it's like, oh, I got a long way to go. I really like doing it, so I want to learn more, but I kind of had to just learn what works, what I needed for me. I have a lot of different animation transitions to put on these keyframes. Basically, these bottom two set it in motion, and the top one defines the keyframes here for exactly what it's going to do. So this one, top left. And I used to do different ones between, whenever it goes from video of me to the images, I put it. And I used to do different ones every time, or I would have it went top left for in, I would go top right for out. And it just was kind of dizzying to watch back, so I simplified it down. And I'll do different ones per video, but I generally do one kind of transition per video just to not make people dizzy. When it cuts to me asking for subs, I don't put anything. I don't know why. Kind of an arbitrary decision. And if it's a very, very brief, like me making a one aside comment or something, I generally don't put it if it's too brief, because I don't want most of the time you're seeing me for it to be in flux like that, because then it just goes in and out, and it's kind of obnoxious. So I just put it at the beginning and ending of whenever we go from video to images, and I get rid of the fade, so you get a little bit of zoom, back to video. And it also kind of adds in the audio playing while the video is transitioning, which stitches the two things together. The only one I do different, and I don't know when or why I started doing this, but the very last one, it was the end screen, I always have it be a rotation. Don't know why, just like doing it. So all the images are set now, and all the transitions, and then I go back to keyboard editing again. Learned on a slow computer, and I used to use 3 different whip or whoosh sound effects and pick them all, but that's also 3 file sizes. So what I do now is I hit this maintain audio speed, I lower the decibels, and then I can just take one and copy it, and whatever blue is selected on the layer here, my keyboard will jump to. So I go to it and I just put in different speeds, and it's maintaining the audio pitch so it never sounds distorted. And with the speed different, it sounds like a different whoosh every time. A little inside baseball there. And the only one I do uniform is on the last one. I always do it slower so it times with the rotation better. That's the only one that's uniform. The rest are more or less random. I try not to do too similar in a row, so that it goes. Here, I'll mute this track so we can hear just the whoosh. Sounds pretty different, exact same file. I believe that's everything. We got the logo. Got the Legends animation, got the asking for subs here. The channel memberships is here. Yeah, try not to have too much stuff cluttering it. And the last thing I do is music. Copyright issues with music is huge on YouTube. And it sucks because even if you buy a license for something or even use the YouTube Creator Music program, if that music decides it wants to change its license, you're out of luck. They can demonetize your video. There's a site, Creator Mix. It's made by 2 brothers who are YouTube growth experts. I watch their live streams and everything. Learned a lot from them. They have something called Creator Mix. They tell you to download the license. So I have their license backed up on my computer. And it's free use license forever. There's a link in the bottom of every one of my videos for them. It's not even required. Just it's a cool service that they do. So listen to it briefly. One's a little uppity or a little upbeat for what we're doing. That's good. It's more for like atmosphere than the actual song. And it used to be a lot harder to time this out, and I lowered the music a lot. You should barely hear it. Premiere Pro added in this remix feature where it's analyzing the clip so it can find the beats and the continuities and the fills, and then you just add in your video length here. It gets it pretty close. Like, see, I'm at 1020. It remixed it to 1022. So it took the one song and stretched it for the entire length of my video. Then I just clip the end. If it goes over, and I add a little bit of a fade so that it doesn't just abruptly cut off at the end of the video if someone stays all the way through the end screen. And then when you hear it together,
Did not want to become a knight or failed out either during their trials or
the
beforehand.
music's nice and soft in the background. And then I always lower this down so we're between 4, not over 6 decibels. I find that keeps it pretty balanced with other things that I watch or listen to, so that you don't go from one video into mine and it blows your ears out, or conversely, you can't hear it. That's it. It was an hour and 20 minutes to take my rough cut footage and make it a full video. All that's left to do is export. We're not going to sit here and watch the progress bar. I don't know, it'll probably take half an hour. I usually just set it and walk away. Since I'm a few days ahead on videos, I can just do that and then upload it overnight. So thanks for those of you who did come in and watch live. I hope you enjoyed it. It was kind of cool to hang out and talk to people while I edited for a change. Normally I'm just in this room by myself. And if you watch this on a replay, let me know in the comments what you thought. Should we do more of these? I'll work on getting my actual camera back, because now I'm sitting here staring at the camera as if I'm looking at you, but you don't know that I'm doing that. Tahu, thanks for the support. As always, man, you've been a huge supporter since pretty much day one. It means a lot. I'm going to try to do this every Monday. I'm aiming from 3 to 4. It might be like 3:15 to 4:15-ish. It depends on what time I get out of work. I usually get out around 3. But yeah, thank you everybody, and I will catch you next time. If I can figure out how to end this.